Hi everyone, Auntie Lexi here. We're almost at the end of my PAX West previews, and I just want to thank you all for watching. Covering this many games as a solo creator takes a lot of time, and your support means the world. Today, we'll be talking about 3 indie games I've had the chance to play: Volunteer Ascension, Demonschool, and Mina the Hollower. I played them in that order over 2 days at PAX West, so it makes sense to cover them that way here. As always, the video has chapter markers, so feel free to jump right to the game you're most excited about. One quick note: I only have trailer footage for all 3 titles. No B-roll was available, so I'll be talking over trailers this time. That's just how things were set up, and honestly, that's totally fine. With that said, let's hop into the games. Funny story about Volunteer Ascension. I originally had an early Friday morning meeting scheduled with the team, but a couple of days before PAX West, they still didn't have a booth listed. Since my time was limited, I ended up canceling that slot for another appointment. As fate would have it, I met the developers later that night at an indie mixer, and was reminded that Volunteer was being developed in the Philippines, the country where I was born and raised. So on Saturday, during some free time, I made it a point to drop by and play their game. Volunteer Ascension is a Metroidvania, clearly inspired by Ori and the Blind Forest, where Blasphemous emphasizes punishing methodical combat, and Castlevania represents the classic exploration-driven template. Volunteer leans toward Ori's style of fluid movement and high-stakes encounters. Traversal often demands precision. Every jump and dash matters, and battles carry that same sense of tension, even early on. The section I played was supposedly the opening chapter of the game of an early build, and as I expected, the damage penalties felt pretty harsh for a starting zone. I mentioned this to the developers and they immediately understood the feedback. What really stood out though was the game's visual presentation. The animations and artwork are absolutely stunning. Progression-wise, the game has some interesting systems. Much like Indivisible, you'll encounter different characters who can help you traverse previously impassable areas. The devs explained that the party system is heavily influenced by JRPGs, and player choices can alter the map in surprising ways. Winter Crew, the studio behind the game, spent years supporting other developers across multiple disciplines, not just animation, but broader creative and technical work as well. That experience allowed them to steadily build a highly skilled team, and it's clear that their true passion has always been making a game of their own. As a Filipino myself, seeing a project of this caliber emerge from my country is inspiring. Video games have always been such an important part of our upbringing growing up, and it feels like the right time for Filipino developers to leave a strong mark on the global stage. Even with just a small slice, what impressed me most were the gorgeous art style, responsive controls, and the potential for Volunteer Ascension to be a milestone, not just for its studio, but for Filipino game development as a whole. Volunteer Ascension is currently slated for release in Q1 2026 on Steam, with console ports planned afterward. The next game I played was Demonschool, and this was one I was really looking forward to. During my session, I even met someone from the publisher who turned out to be a big fan of the channel. Next time we meet, we'll definitely have to grab a picture together. Now, I have a lot of things I want to say about Demonschool, but none of it has to do with its recent delay. That's understandable. My preview is all about what the game really is and how it speaks to JRPG fans. First off, Demonschool isn't your typical turn-based RPG. In fact, it has more in common with Into the Breach. If you haven't played that one, think of a tactical game that feels almost puzzle-like in its precision, where every move matters. Only here, you have more flexibility. Don't let that fool you though. Much like Shin Megami Tensei, the demo had a certain brutality baked in. Battles often ask you to defeat a certain number of enemies before rushing to the finish line. But until you do, waves of ghouls and demons are doing everything they can to stop you. Death is a constant, but unlike SMT, it isn't the end of the world. You can lose characters mid-battle and still pull through, which I found refreshing. Combat works on alternating turns between your party and the enemy. On your turn, you plan every character's actions, whether it's moving, attacking, healing, or buffing, all while managing a shared pool of action points. The more a character acts, the higher their costs become, which encourages you to spread responsibilities instead of leaning on just one or two party members. The best part? You don't have to lock anything in until you're ready. You can rewind, reset, and test different strategies before committing. It's a system that feels both demanding and flexible at the same time. And again, about those deaths. During my playthrough, I was chatting casually with the developers, only half focused, and still managing to clear fights, even when a character or two went down. That's not to say the game is easy. It's not. But it does show that losing isn't as damning as it first appears. Overall, Demonschool left me with an impression that's almost cozy in a strange way. Maybe it's the flow of its systems or how natural and intuitive the tactics feel. But there's something inviting here, even beneath the brutality. Either way, I can't wait to dig deeper when I get my hands on a full game, closer to its launch on November 19th, which is coming to all major platforms: PS4, PS5, Switch, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. The very last game I played at PAX West before heading out, but certainly not the least, is a little game featuring a cute mouse who burrows instead of dodge rolls, explores a sprawling gothic world, and wields... Oh, wait a minute. Isn't this just Castlevania but with an adorable protagonist? I'm of course talking about Yacht Club Games' Mina the Hollower. Full disclosure, I told the team that I'd tried desperately to find time for the demo, which was a limited time build, but missed it. So they kindly set me up with the first 30 minutes of gameplay and even pointed out details I would have overlooked since time was limited. Now, those Castlevania vibes I mentioned aren't misleading. Imagine a blend of Castlevania's whip combat and gothic atmosphere, an overhead Zelda-style perspective, a dash of Bloodborne's open-world influence, and the colorful aesthetic of a Game Boy Color classic. It's a lot, I know, but from the way Yacht Club talked about it, their enthusiasm was absolutely infectious. Unlike a lot of modern games that front-load long cutscenes, Mina wastes no time throwing you right into the action. You start by picking one of 3 weapons. I naturally went with a whip and Morningstar, and quickly found familiar tools like daggers and axes, which behave very much like their Castlevania counterparts. Platforming is intuitive, but don't be fooled. Enemies waiting mid-jump will feel instantly familiar if you've ever cursed at crows in 8-bit games. They're right at home here too. But here's where Mina really shines: the burrow mechanic. Instead of a typical dodge roll, Mina, a hollower, not a mouse, hops and tunnels underground for a short duration. It not only lets her evade attacks, but also clear large gaps, adding to the platforming depth. I'll admit, half an hour wasn't nearly enough for me to feel comfortable stringing her abilities together smoothly, but it's clear that the design encourages mastery, and much like Shovel Knight, the game has speedrunners in mind. The devs even showed me a hidden tactic for a boss encounter so I could see the full demo, a neat trick that made me smile, even though I'm not a speedrunner myself. But I know that community is gonna love digging into it. Pun intended. While chatting with Yacht Club during my playthrough, what struck me was how much their studio culture feeds into the game. They're a small team, about 16 people, but operate with a flat hierarchy, encouraging everyone, even PR staff and newcomers, to speak up and learn about game design. That cross-training and mix of diverse backgrounds ensures their games don't just serve a narrow niche, but reach a much wider audience. You feel that breadth of passion in Mina. Before I knew it, my time with the game was up. But as a longtime Castlevania fan, I walked away gushing. Mina the Hollower feels like Yacht Club's love letter to the games that inspired them. And maybe even their cheeky way of saying, if no one's making Bloodborne 2, then we will. And honestly, I'm here for it. We won't have to wait too long either. Mina the Hollower launches on Halloween, October 31st, coming to PS5, both Switch platforms, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Now that I'm on the other side of the script, I think it's clear that indie games have an incredible future ahead. I've always believed in their vision and their ability to deliver experiences too risky for bigger publishers, and I'm so proud of the work they've put into these titles. Honestly, I just wish I had more time to play all of the other wonderful indies showcased at PAX West. But now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of the games I featured here is making it onto your wishlist, and why? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's talk about it. And if you don't want to miss me covering more indies, niche titles, JRPGs, and beyond, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I've still got my massive Capcom preview coming up, featuring Resident Evil Requiem, Pragmata, and Onimusha Way of the Sword, as well as my interview with Junho Bei, the creator of Starbites. And with even more JRPG previews on the horizon, subscribing is the best way to stay caught up. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.